you ready?
I am ready. Let's go.
Welcome to the Sports Wrap with George and Ringer. We're home, George.
Sports. We're talking sports. We're here.
We're home. This is where it all began.
It is.
Like a year and a half plus ago,
Yes.
whatever it was.
Yes.
I think about a year and a half exactly. And you've got your shots. Shots? Yes.
Shots.
I got my shots. So
And I'm going to have a shot tonight too. So it all works out.
So it all works out.
It all works out. Yeah.
Well, we're in the middle of the madness.
This is crazy too.
You know, we were just saying, you just asked me before we went on, did you watch North Dakota State and North Dakota on Saturday? And I'm like, nope, didn't have time because everything else is going on. And then they add in volleyball and all the rest of this stuff. It's a tough life, but somebody's got to try to do it, George.
At 11, about 10:30 every night, my eyes were two little red spots, and I put it on record, and I got up at 5:30, 6 o'clock with the dogs, and I'd finish watching it. But I was pretty beat up by late at night.
Last night, being Monday night, when we taped this on Tuesday evening, the basketball games were on, and at 9 o'clock I said, that's it. I turned the TV off and I went to bed. I'm just like, I'm done. I can't do anymore. I've given what I could give. I did what I could, and I don't care if UCLA wins or if whoever else was playing last night wins. I didn't care anymore.
Well,
of course, it might have something to do with my bracket is in the garbage essentially. So maybe that has a lot to how I feel about the basketball as well.
No, USC and Southern Cal has a pair of brothers, the Mobley Brothers, Isaiah and Evans, and their father is an assistant coach on the USC team. Their mother was an all-state basketball player. I mean, these kids are 6'11" and 6'10", and the younger is the taller, and he's the center. He got, 21 points. The other one got 17. Ton of rebounds between them, 16, 18 rebounds. They are really fun to watch. And we'll get into it a little bit later, but I stayed up and watched.
You stayed up late?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's nice of CBS and TBS and all those to put the West Coast teams on late. That was good, and they keep the West Coast people happy and everything else. So, what do you want to start with? Well,
I don't anyway. We can go.
Let's stay with the basketball.
Okay.
Did you fill out a bracket? Everybody knows about my bracket already.
Well, and your bracket shot already?
Well, herein lies the problem, George. I picked Illinois to win it all.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, well,
they lost.
Yeah, they lost. Yeah.
We're going to get into that too.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. And then let's see, who did I have on the? Oh, I still got I still got Baylor, and I still got Gonzaga, and I still got Florida State. They won last night.
Yes, they did.
Florida State won last night. So I still got 3 out of the 4. But the big bracket in town, the Jay Bartkowski bracket, I'm dead in the water. I can't even get to 10th place anymore. Now on my uncle's board, I'm in 2nd place. I'm tied for 2nd, so I still got a chance there. So I guess it's not all dead.
Well, I want to start this whole thing off by, they always used to say that George Patton had a weather prayer. To prayer for good weather to go to war. And the angel and future saint of Chicago Loyola, Sister Jean, she has a prayer as well. And this is a prayer, so I just said we get just a little religious here.
A little religious. Just a little.
As we play the Fighting Illini, we ask for special help to overcome this team and get a great win. We hope to score early and make our opponents nervous. We have a great opportunity to convert rebounds as this team makes 50% of layups and 30% of its 3 points. Our defense can take care of that. And that was not the whole but the better chunk of, and it sounded pretty much like a scouting report. She's 101 years old, and she sat up and watched her team take down Illinois, powerful little Illinois.
Yeah, my mother had a phone call me on Sunday to remind me that I had picked Illinois. Thanks, Mom. And if you were not my mother, you would get a tongue lashing right now. Needless to say, she has not got a return phone call.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now
about this.
I was believing in the power of prayer at the end of the first half, and I mean, by the end of the game, I was a true believer. Sister Jean could go be on my team anytime she wanted to.
Illinois was. We're going to pull a chair in.
Yeah.
Illinois was. I was sure was going to come back. and they never could get inside the number. They could never get in and make Loyola really uncomfortable. They just couldn't do it.
No.
They could get it to 6, they might get it to 7, but they could not get it into the 4-3 range because they just couldn't do it.
When the pair,
Elgin Baylor, yes, he'll come up.
He'll come up. When I sat there 2 weeks when they first got their pairing, the one said, "Do you think Chicago Loyola would like to knock off Illinois?" And I'm taking a look, and I saw them play a couple of times this year. They were good. They were very good, and they moved the court well. And I thought, at this point in time, hey, can a 15 beat a number 2? You bet. And so I sat there and watched it, and Sister Jean brought fade into it, and and rebounds and all the rest. It was an amazing game.
So what are we going to do with the Big Ten?
Well, I'll tell you what. The Big Ten had 9 entries, and they have 1 left. The nearer we can figure out is face realism and say the Big Ten is completely overrated. And I will get into more detail with that very nature here.
While you're doing that, I'm going to say that Jay Billis didn't say they were overrated. He said they underachieved. And I thought, well, that's a nice way of putting it, Jay Billis, but no, I want to say that they were probably overrated. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it doesn't explain. I mean, Sister Jean's prayers takes care of Illinois, but now we have 7 other teams that just basically got wiped out, including Oral Roberts beating Ohio State, and right down the line.
But I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad about Rutgers losing out in the second round, and I don't feel bad about Maryland because they were 2 number 10s. So I mean, they won 1 more game than they were supposed to. So I don't want to lump all the teams in that they did poorly. But I mean, you got to look at Illinois, Ohio State, and Purdue, and you got to say, well, boys, you were ranked in the top 10 a lot of the year. Not Purdue so much, but geez Louise, you got to come through.
This is it. The Big Ten had 9. There's 1 remaining. ACC had 7. There's 2 remaining.
And I don't hear anybody bashing the ACC.
No. And the SEC had 6, and there's 2 remaining.
I don't hear anybody bashing the SEC.
The Pac-12 had 5, and there's 4 remaining. And the Big East had 4, and there's 2 remaining. I mean, that looks real slender for the Big Ten. And I'll tell you, I think some of the answer might be in the way they play the game. The Big Ten has front lines that could play in any football team, and then they have 1 or 2 shooters out there. I watched SC and Oregon State. They're lean. They really ran down the court well. In the second half, they're halfway through the second half. Their legs were still there. They could still shoot from outside. And I thought a big Luka, he was starting to wear out, and Dickinson was definitely wearing out. And so these big guys that we have,
I thought it was interesting. I listened to a lot of Westwood 1 this weekend as I was on the road, so I didn't get to watch much basketball. But Doug Gottlieb said basically what you just said. The Big Ten is designed to smash each other.
Yes.
That's the conference.
That's a Big Ten
and now all of a sudden they get into the tournament and they play these mid-majors who can't go out and get a 7-footer, or these big bulky kids because they all go play at the big schools, and all of a sudden you get these 6'6", 6'7" slashing guards that the Big Ten hasn't seen a whole lot of. And I don't know if it's true. They've seen a lot of it.
They have.
But they don't have 5 of them on the other team that the Big Ten maybe can't. So it's interesting to think about it that way. I don't know if I necessarily believe that, folks, but it could be something to it. I think the Big Ten went in way overconfident is what I think it is. They went in there and said, well, I'll use Ohio State. Well, it's number 15, Oral Roberts, okay? I don't know if you got to watch, but I got to watch Oral Roberts in the semifinals and in the finals on TV. They were the number 4 seed in the Summit Conference.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at Oral Roberts.
So they're okay.
Yeah.
But I think the Big Ten teams, when they were like, well, hey, everybody's just going to show up and fold like a big circus tent for us, and we're going to win. And
I just see some of these kids, and it's epitomized by Jalen Suggs. They're just really good athletes. He's 6'4", 205 pounds. He can run to beat the band. He can jump. He can shoot. He's got the basics on defense.
Did you watch the game yesterday?
Yes, I did.
Okay, let me ask the question. Yeah. And I'm asking everybody at home because I think if you watch college basketball, you're going to know what I'm talking about. Now, Gonzaga is the #1 undefeated team, blah, blah, blah. But I watched Jalen Suggs yesterday, and I have a newfound, I want to say this in a nicer way than I really want to, I have a newfound disgust for our man from Minneapolis. I don't like the cheap shots stuff. I don't like the driving and the forearms to the jaw. I don't like
but he's not the only one using that. There's people laying all over the court from that.
Yeah, but see, I don't like the idea that he thinks he should be able to do it and then he can walk away and I'm Jalen Suggs. I don't like that crap. And when he got tattooed at the end of the game yesterday and he didn't like it, it's like, Mr. Suggs, if you can hand it out, you got to be able to take it as well. So
that is part of the deal.
That's part of the deal. You want to play that way, you got to learn to play that way.
Well, I'm just saying these guys are running and jumping, playing basic defense, and they can all shoot. And when I take a look at what team would you be running against, and these great big characters from the Big Ten, they are not very mobile, and as it turns out, outside of boxing out, they don't play very good defense. Certainly not transition D. Transition basketball these days is, it's different the way Randy and I taught it.
So what else do you want to talk about with the big tournament, the basketball tournament?
Well, I think the tournament's great. You have all kinds of people, double-digit seeds that beat people up, and I think I put that down here somewhere. But there's. Look at that wrestling results. We don't want to get into that.
Not yet.
No.
We'll get to that.
Not get into that. But,
while you're searching, I want to say congratulations to the Gopher men's basketball team because since the last time we spoke,
Ben Johnson come home.
Mr. Patino is gone. Ben Johnson has come home and played at De La Salle, coached at De La Salle, coached with the Gophers, and sounds like he's a recruiter. So what does that mean for our boys, Mr. Mashburn and Mr. Carr, who have entered the transfer portal?
They will be the first one he recruits.
Okay. Do you think they'll stay? What did the guru say? Did the guru say they'll stay, or did
the guru watched his interview today? Did you see the interview today? Ben Johnson, and he said he handled himself very well, and he has both feet on the ground to just exactly where he wants to go, and so I'm real confident, and people said, Scruggs said today on the podcast, it's a high-risk choice. Money is a factor. I brought this up to the group.
Why was it a high-risk choice? Why are people saying that?
Well, because he's never been a head coach before, and everybody's really kind of surprised that he was even a candidate. And so,
interesting. Well, my sources told me that there was, and I'm not, whatever, but they had to make the right choice.
Well, the first thing they said he has a real good relationship with the high school coaching staff. And so he knows these people. I'm sure he puts on the clinic. And 10, 20 years ago, there weren't this kind of talent around. And now it's all over the place, Minnesota talent. And they're going to go after, I think that one of the big determiners for Patino disappearing was he was letting these Minnesota blue chippers disappear, and they did disappear. And so, and when they see Jalen Suggs going somewhere else, much to your dismay, they wonder, why couldn't we have recruited him here? even for 1 year. I mean, he would have been fun. But I think we got a chance to get at least Marcus Carr back. I'm not sure about Mashburn, because
you think Mashburn will end up in New Mexico? That's where I think he's going to end up.
I think that's a possibility.
I think that will be the plan.
Yes.
But we'll see. Did you find what you were looking for there, boss?
Well, the only thing I was going to talk about was all the teams that had lousy records that are in the Sweet 16. This is the most that's been there since 1999. So it's 21 years since they've had all these double-digit seed teams in there, and they're good.
Yeah. There's lots of talent out there.
There's a lot of talent out there, and it's it'll be fun to watch them. It really will. From this point on, I'm telling you, anything can happen. But something tells me that the big upsets are about to end. and if I'm going to have any chance of winning my pool, Gonzaga has to pull it off.
Okay.
Now, people say Gonzaga can't because nobody's done it. And, and it's since 76, and so we're just waiting around to be done, that's all.
I hear you. I guess for me personally, for my bracket, Florida State's got to come through and make it to the Final Four.
Yeah.
If they can do that and take Michigan out, that gives me some leverage down the stretch here. So hopefully that's what happens. So anything else you want to talk about with men's basketball?
We have on Saturday, Arkansas plays Oral Roberts. That's going to be a very good basketball game. And then
did you recognize how much young Musselman looks like old Musselman?
Yes, I do.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
It was frightening. They panned they panned across the thing like this, and I'm like, that's Musselman right there. I didn't even have to look to see who was playing. I'm like, oh my goodness.
One of the big upsets that's in there, Syracuse. Jim Boeheim.
They can't shoot like that ever again in their whole entire lives.
I'm telling you.
They can't shoot like that again.
Buddy Boeheim is on a streak.
That's, by the way, that's Boeheim's grandson. I don't think they're telling the truth. But I'm kidding.
Well, Grandpa, father, whatever. This kid was incredible the other day, and who's to say he can't do that again against you?
Am I looking when I'm shooting, or am I just throwing? Oh my God, I went in again! I can't believe. Anyway, that's my album.
The next day, the other four are Gonzaga at Creighton, Michigan and Florida State, Alabama at UCLA, and I tell you, Alabama's got a very good team, and they could win the whole thing. UCLA is a team
with a high school coach.
With a high school
with
coach.
Alabama having a guy who was in high school 7 years ago, he was a math teacher and a head basketball coach, and now he's won the SEC tournament and the regular season, and George is predicting that they could win the whole shooting match.
Well, and I'm telling you, and SC is playing Oregon for the night game, and I'm definitely going to watch the Mobley Brothers. They are real fun to watch, real fun.
You want to go to wrestling or hockey?
We can go. Let's go take a quick run to hockey.
Yeah, let's take a quick run to hockey. Of course, probably the big news is the 16 teams came out, and everybody was nervous. I think the Bulldog fans, myself included, were a little nervous on whether the Dogs were going to get in. And then, of course, it was like, well, the Dogs aren't in. Who's going to be there? Well, then St. Lawrence got a little COVID issue. They had won the out east, and so they ended up having to drop out. And that left room for Omaha and Bemidji State and a couple of these other teams to have their arguments. And so all 5 Minnesota Division I teams are in, and which is pretty cool. It's never happened before.
No, we got North Dakota playing American International 8:30 Friday, and then UMD at Michigan 3 o'clock on Friday. Hey, we'll have to put our UMD shirts on for that one. BSU of Wisconsin. I mean, anytime that they could beat Wisconsin. Minnesota plays Nebraska. Omaha on Saturday at 8 o'clock. Mankato plays Quinnipiac on
Come
Saturday.
on, Omaha. Sorry. I had to get it out of my system.
You had to get that out of the system. And then the Frozen Four is on the 8th to the 10th in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
How did Pittsburgh get it back again is what I want to know. It was just there. And they had the wrestling just a couple years. Do they get it? What's the draw to Pittsburgh anyway?
It's
out east. I know. That's where everybody lives. So
it is.
So anyway, go Dogs. The hockey got to be exciting. Of course, congratulations to Wisconsin for the women for winning the women's NCAA. The Dogs had Northeastern on the ropes and then just absolutely ran out of gas.
They did.
And too bad they lost there. It would have been fun to watch Wisconsin versus the Dogs, but it didn't work out that way. So, all right, let's talk NCAA wrestling.
Okay.
I think we got about 18 minutes set aside, so let's talk about it.
Okay, well, I'll tell you, it was on for 3 days, and I have to, ESPN really did a heck of a job. They put on the preliminaries, the consolation rounds, the medal rounds, and the championship rounds, and they did a very good job of it. I was
for a wrestling fan, this year's where they had to split everybody up so they didn't have as many people in the arena made the Thursday and Friday even longer because they had to spread it out over 4 sessions instead of 2 sessions. So there was wrestling galore, and yeah, it was good for a wrestling fan.
Oh no, and I tell you, Iowa won the national title, but in the middle round, Penn State was right on their tush. They had 4 people in the medal rounds, and in the finals they won all 4 matches. So they were coming on real strong. The Gophers, they had 3 All-Americans. Brayton Lee took 7th at 157. Patrick McKee, 125-pounder, was 15th seed, and he wound up taking 3rd.
I was so ticked at him when he lost, and not that I should be, but when he lost in the 2nd round, I thought, come on. You got to win that match, and that son of a gun came back and won 6 straight.
6 straight matches.
6 straight matches after he lost on Thursday to take 3rd overall in the nation. So I applaud you after I bashed you for come on, you got. Anyway, it was.
He had a good tournament,
and he had 3 pins out of those 6 wins.
Yeah,
he had a heck of a weekend.
And he's only a sophomore. He's coming back.
And Spencer Lee is.
Spencer Lee is gone. I will get into second here. Of course, we had Big Thunder. Gable Dan Stevenson. Now, he's 6'3", just under 280 pounds. He went through this tournament like there was nothing there. The 2nd seed is a guy named Mason Parrish from Michigan, and he beat Mason Parrish 8-4. Gable was practicing his takedowns, and Parrish was practicing his escapes. And that's kind of the way that worked.
Did it look like he was not? He might have been tired. Okay, you wrestle 5 matches in 3 days. He didn't show me the.
Not like he had the first.
Not like he had, and maybe, like I said, maybe he ran out of gas. Maybe he was being a little more cautious, which is very possible. But I had it on, of course, on my phone, and of course I was like, I wanted to jump up and no, you got to. And I never got there.
The reason it was still even a little bit overpowering for 8-4 is Parrish never come close to taking him down.
Yeah.
And when you take a look at Stevenson's far ankle reach and stuff, it is so lightning quick. It is like snake-like quick, and you're on your can, and he's on to doing other things to you. But I'll tell you what, he won 8-4. And this is his first national championship. I don't know if we're going to see the likes of him again. I think he'll make the Olympic team. He has some tough competition there. And then he always wanted to be a professional wrestler. So it might be that he's going to go to WWF and go and do some wrestling for them. And this came up during the thing, was, don't tell me there aren't some NFL teams that are interested in it. And as soon as he won his match, he went into a cartwheel and a full backflip. I mean, way high up in the air backflip. My guru said, he's another Ozzie Smith who used to play shortstop for the Cardinals. He'd run out to second base and do a backflip. Well, hey, Stevenson can do that, and he weighs 280 pounds.
Mr. Ringhopper!
So, but the best thing about it is they started the tournament at 133 pounds.
I was wondering where they were going to start, and of course I was on the radio doing a basketball game, and when I finally got done with the basketball game. I got everything up. I flipped my phone on quick just to see what was going on.
Yeah.
And they were like in the 157-pound match. And our man Deacon wasn't there from Northwestern.
No, he got beat at semis.
And I'm like, what's going on? Wait, this must be a replay. I must hit the wrong button.
It's still Vecchio from Rutgers.
So anyway, I started figuring, and they got to halftime, and I'm like, they're gonna finish with 125. It made sense. I was afraid that they were gonna start with Gable and then work down the weights.
Whatever they were going to do, they did it in as much rhythm as they could. But the two matches on the night are Gable at heavyweight, and then the next match is Spencer Lee.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, Spencer Lee gave up a takedown in this tournament, and he figured that was the first takedown he's given up in over 100 matches, and he was stunned. While that only poked that bear. I tell you, this was his third national championship, and after you watch him, after you look at him for a while and watch him, you have to maybe think that Superman was a 25-pounder. He didn't have to be any bigger than that. This kid is just amazing, and I'm sure we'll see him wrestle in the World Cup, and he'll wrestle in the Olympics probably. But as good as Gable Stevenson is, Spencer Lee is an amazing kid.
How about RBY? I didn't get to watch it, so
he won, and I was watching the last 30 seconds, stalling like a dead dog.
See? Yeah, dirty bugger.
He was up, and he had the lead, and he just took it and just stalled and stalled and stalled. Maybe I took things on here.
Well, I was surprised that Kermer lost from Iowa. That was probably the big.
He won 4-2 in overtime against the Stan Fix from Oklahoma State.
Okay, went to overtime.
And that was a big match because Penn State and Oklahoma State were nip and tuck on team scores.
Okay.
So, and as soon as he won, and he was really crawling. I thought, Ringer would just be going crazy over
I didn't get to watch it. I'm glad that I didn't. So.
Look,
so what else we got? Wrestling.
No, I just look. Like I say, Iowa won this with 129. Penn State won it for 113. Oklahoma State a 99. Arizona 74. Michigan 69. NC State 68, and the Gophers in Missouri were tied at 64 for 7th. And considering they only had one in the finals, that's not too bad.
Yeah, I was especially, don't anybody judge me the wrong way, how poorly I thought the Gophers did on day one. They really, I mean, they had a lot of kids who were seated in the 20s, and they aren't supposed to win those matches. So I mean, I need to understand
well, you see,
that.
That's the thing, you go and you get into that thing, and all of a sudden you get beat. Well, and the guy that beats you gets beat. You're done. And so you don't get a shot at that consolation. So if you lose your first match, you're really pulling for the guy that beats you to continue.
Yeah, and so you got to work your way back through and do the things that you do. So anyway, I thought the Gophers, considering how poorly they did on Thursday morning or Thursday afternoon, surprisingly that they were able to come in 7th. Yeah, seriously.
No, and it was nip and tuck, and it was Patrick McKee's coming back in his wrestle back in the middle round, and the big guy carrying the rest of the way.
The extra points for the pins. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I tell you, it was it caused a lot of emotional strain on my eyes and on my marriage, but we
really on your marriage too. What? Honey, are you sure? Huh. Anyway, I'm wondering why there's somebody that won't hardly talk to me anymore. Anyway.
No, I tell you that the wrestling season's over, and it was, all the time these kids usually get 30, 35 wrestling matches.
Wait a minute. The state wrestling tournament's this weekend, isn't it?
I'll get into that.
He said wrestling season was over for the colleges.
For the college level, and that's kind of where I'm at now. But when you most of the time these guys had 30, 35 wrestling matches. This year they had 18 or 20, and I think that made a big difference.
Or less.
You know, and they weren't all beat up, and I think in many ways it's like you know, did Oregon State they didn't play a basketball game.
Oregon
basketball first round,
yeah.
You know, and all of a sudden they're up against Iowa, and they haven't had that rest.
Yeah.
And so you think, you know, what is the big determinant there? But I was talking about upsets a little bit ago, just kind of quick through going back to basketball.
Yeah.
Number 15, Oral Roberts beat Ohio State and Florida. Number 11, Syracuse beat San Diego State and West Virginia. Number 12, seed Oregon State beat Tennessee and Oklahoma State. Ohio knocks off Virginia, then they wound up losing. Maryland won. UCLA, Abilene Christian, wherever that's at. But this is the most double-digit seeds that have reached the 16 since 1999. Also, the women's things that's going on, but they're just starting to churn up a little bit. That being said, a college named Belmont. You'll tell me where Belmont's from.
I believe in New York.
Okay, Belmont, New York. Okay, if that's it.
I believe so.
Okay, they're the 12th seed, and they just upset number 5 seed Gonzaga. And the Bruins were led by 5'7" Destiny Wells, who scored 26 points and 7 assists, and she played the entire game, point guard, no turnovers.
Wow.
I think the no turnover thing is a key.
Well, you heard about Lehigh with their six
Minnesotans.
6 Minnesota ladies playing on their team.
They got busted up, but
they got busted up. But hey, you know, to think that 6 Minnesota girls ended up in Pennsylvania to play basketball, I'm just like, okay,
No, it must be a very fine campus. I've heard only good things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're done with college basketball. Yeah. We're done with college hockey. We're done with college wrestling. Anything else college left that we need to?
Boy, this is we're not going to have much to talk about in college in another couple of weeks. So yeah,
did you find time to flip through and watch the Gopher volleyball team against #1 Wisconsin the other day?
I had my associate downstairs watching that, and she would come up and give me.
Well, the Gophers were without their libero and without their setter, and
they had a different team.
It's a different team. They hung in there. They actually won the second set pretty convincingly, and were ahead in the third set. And I'm like, if they beat #1 Wisconsin without their setter and without their libero, what in the heck is that saying about this Gopher team? How good are they? But they just couldn't. Yeah, it was too much.
Are they getting these girls back?
Yeah, they were just at the end of Wisconsin had not played in a month. Volleyball had not played in a month, and the Gopher women hadn't played in, I think, like 3 weeks. So both these teams were coming off long layoffs, and to be honest with you, the volleyball wasn't outstanding. It was not great volleyball. But having said that, the end of the season's coming up. Tournament's coming along, so we'll see what happens.
Well, you know, as you remember last year, the Gophers had to come up and beat a couple of good teams to even get into the final, get out of the Big Ten, and so there should be pretty good competition.
It's great competition, competition, you know, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Want to talk about the Wild?
Let's talk about the Wild. I tell you, I wrote down an article here before everything was.
I like when he's prepared like this. All I got to do is say, "Hey, you want to talk about this?" And he's got something for me, because here's what I've got on the Wild. How do you go to Colorado? How do you go to Colorado and lose 12-0 or 12-1, whatever it was? Oh my goodness! I'll tell you what. The Wild got a wake-up call. Hey,
they did.
It's not all going to be, unless you work hard and hustle for pucks every second. That's what Colorado, from what I saw, every loose puck, they were there putting shots on net, and the Wild were like, that's what I saw.
One article said, I think summed it up, the Wild are lagging in energy. I think they're tired. I mean, you take a look at that schedule. They're playing a professional hockey every other day, and they've been doing this now for 2 or 3 months.
So you're saying they need to get COVID again, so that they can get some rest?
I think what they need is 3 days off, and they got that coming.
Okay.
And so, that's just, you got to keep your goaltender sharp. I mean, Capo. I think I like Capo. When he is snappy, he is really, really snappy, and no matter what anybody says, this is the best Wild team, or the most fun Wild team I've ever watched. These kids go, they're young. You're seeing a generational change here, Tim. This is where you're going to start seeing the 21, 22-year-olds, and not just in hockey either. And for the Timberwolves, you're going to start seeing the kids. I mean,
well, they keep drafting number one. That's all they got is kids.
Well, that's fine, because Anthony Edwards is good. Is a good basketball player.
He's a very good basketball player.
And so, we'll watch these kids.
My problem with Ant, as they're calling him, Cat and Ant, the problem is Anthony Edwards scores 42 one night. Yeah. The next night against the very same team, he scores 13. Now, I understand that they can take you away, and I understand you're a rookie and you're whatevering. But we can't have you playing this wide. We can't have you playing from incredible to... I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is an exaggeration, George. I'm not sure. But if you put me out on the floor for 25 minutes in an NBA game, and let me do what I do, I probably can score 13 points too. I'll just stand behind the three-point line, and I'll cast up 5 threes, and that'll be it. Okay, maybe not.
Yeah, I
got to make sure you people are paying attention, because you might have it on in the background. I want to make sure you're paying attention.
You got to understand.
I want to make sure you're paying attention.
Yeah.
The heck, anyway.
What the heck?
So.
What the heck? I think that they're going to come back. They beat the Coyotes.
Yeah.
And do they play tonight? I think they do.
They must have today off.
Maybe tomorrow.
And then we're going to see St. Louis a bunch coming up.
Yes.
Because we haven't played St. Louis yet, and we got to play 8 times over the next month plus. So we're going to be a lot of blues.
They're all old. We're all young. We're going
to be okay.
We're going to be okay.
So does that mean we've talked about the Timberwolves? We're done with the Timberwolves as well?
Let's talk a little bit about the Timberwolves.
Hey, all I can say is, if we feel bad how bad the Timberwolves are, how do they feel in Houston? They've been in the playoffs talking about going to NBA championships the last X number of years, and they just broke a 20-game losing streak.
A 20-game losing streak.
Woo!
Yeah, no, they're good. They're in the right direction here. I don't know if Finch is he's the offensive guru of this whole deal. The fact of it is, their defense has been deplorable. So you have to kind of meld those two together. But they have scored more points. I got to give them that, and he is letting those kids loose if they can only stay out of foul trouble and injuries.
Yeah, they've had to deal with that. Of course, everybody does. Like LeBron James now. Now ESPN is calling him LBJ. Not LeBron. They're calling him LBJ. LeBron. I'm just about had it with ESPN. I'm at the edge. Because every tweet about the NBA is only about LeBron James and the Lakers. There's nobody else in the league. I understand he's the superstar. I get it, folks. But when they started calling him LBJ the other day, I almost said, I'm done with you. Get rid of it. Yeah. Let's talk about the Twins.
Let's talk about the Twins.
Let's do the Twins. We've
got 3 good pitchers at least.
Okay.
We've got a solid infield. I read about it the other day. Nothing's going to get.
Nobody did, but Rocco won't let them play together.
Well,
was he waiting till like May 1 and say, hey, by the way, you guys should be able to turn a double play by now? Oh wait, you've only played 2 games together? Oh, sorry. Was that important? That I let you play together so that you guys understand where you're going to stand and how you're going to catch the ball and where you like to catch it? Rocco, come on.
I got my Twins shirt on.
He's got his Twins shirt on.
But I'm putting my hope. All the time we always say, we got the sticks. Nobody can throw the apple. Well, there's a tater thrower now, and they got a whole bunch of them. And so, 3 good starting pitchers and a couple of good catchers, at least one. And
they sent your boy down to the alternate site today.
I can't believe they did that.
How? You know what the reason is.
Yeah.
They got to keep him down there until June 1, and then he'll be here, everybody. Relax.
It's like your friend Patrick Russi says, are you trying to tell me they're worried about 2026 playing credit?
Yep, they are. Yes, they are.
Oh,
they got enough guys to take care of business. It's okay, everybody. He'll be up soon enough. It'll all take care of itself.
I'm on the youth crusade, and he's definitely a big.
Do you know where they start the season at? Do you know when they start the season? I had to look it up, folks, because honestly, with everything else going on, I couldn't even pick. Do you realize that they start next Thursday at Milwaukee?
Yeah, at Milwaukee?
At Milwaukee.
Ah, nice.
And then they got to go to Detroit. And then they get to come home. So, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
It'll be run over by everything else because, you know, on April 1st, we'll be talking about state hockey tournament and state basketball tournament, and we'll be talking about the NCAA basketballs, and opening day is just going to be like an after. You sit over here, wait till everything is done, and then the Masters will sit over here, and then you guys can,
Well, at least they'll be able to get a few people into the stadium. Were they offering 10,000 people?
10,000.
Well, if they're playing.
So George, let me ask you this question, because this came up over the weekend with my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
If you had a choice between going to a Twins game or to a Saints game, you can't do both. Which one are you going to? Saints or Twins?
I'm going to the Saints. And I'll tell you why. I can see the Twins on TV.
Yeah.
You know, I know all the Twins. I
want to see the future Twins. That's what I want to see.
I love minor league baseball, and it's just like to have AAA minor league baseball in St. Paul. I think is one of the exciting parts of sports for Minnesota. So I have to go with you there.
Are we done with the Twins?
We can done with the Twins.
How about the Vikings? Do you like the Patrick Peterson signing?
The Patrick Peterson signing. I mean, after last year, you knew that they were going to work on the secondary, and I.
So does that mean we don't have to waste a first-round draft pick on another cornerback?
No, that doesn't mean that. No,
okay.
I don't think it means that at all. If there's one available, I think you have to go for that. But it's.
You got him for 1 year for $10 million.
Yes.
You know, Arizona probably couldn't afford to pay him what they needed to pay him. They brought in a veteran guy who knows the game that will help these guys out, these young bucks out, and they lost Harris to free agency to, was it Phil? Where did he go? Philly. Philly. Anyway, you know, it's always a work in progress. You know, there really hasn't been a major free agent signing yet, at least as far as I'm concerned.
No, and everybody else is kind of going crazy, and I don't know why it is.
You know, Trubisky ended up in Buffalo and blah, blah, blah. So it's going to, obviously, it'll all transition and
what
come out in the wash.
What I'm excited about is this Big Tomlinson, defensive lineman for the Vikes, and he was a 3-time Georgia State champion wrestler. And when you see him play, you see some of the way he finishes his tackles. They're definitely takedowns, and
there's a little twist on there.
And they're thumpers. So, and he's 6'4", he weighs 315 pounds. I kind of look upon him as a big Gable. So, but I was worried about that because they were, and then they throw my blindside tackle out too. How are you going to replace him? That is where you have to get.
Is Ezra moving over there?
Maybe.
Could be. We'll see. They got to find somebody to replace there.
You remember
they had to save money. The salary cap went down $16 million.
Yeah.
You got to find some way through this.
Yeah.
And they had to make some tough choices where the tight end and the tackle and some of these other guys had to go because what they were getting paid was a nice amount of money, but it's too much for what they were giving us.
Yeah, Rudolph was one of my favorite ball players. I mean,
they all ended up at the Giants. Is there like a freeway of free agency right into New York City? You leave Minneapolis and you go to New York City? Well, anyway, that's what I got to say about that.
No, they are slowly but surely piecing this together, but it all starts, as you've said many times, with the line, and you have to have.
Gotta have that offensive line, boys.
Yeah.
Come on, Mike. You got to get an offensive line put together. You kept Kirk Cousins. You got to protect.
Yeah, you got to protect them.
Is it time to talk Broncos yet?
We can talk Broncos.
Let's wrap up the winter seasons as they are now done.
They are.
And so I put down here. I just started at the top. It has no order. Okay. So boys basketball got the Broncos' first playoff win in any sport, team sport now, since 2018, since May of 2018.
Wow.
That's a long time that the drought was, okay, in any sport that is. So you take the team sports, not the golfs, the tracks, the swimmings, okay? Take those out. Okay, the team sports that I would say are true team sports. I hope I'm not offending anybody with that. Anyway, baseball won in May of 2018. That was the last playoff win. So all of 2018, 2019, all of 2019, 2020, no playoff wins. And the boys come through. Nice win on the road. They had to hang on for their dear lives against Evelyn, but they got it done. And then lost at Esco to end their season 10-10. The girls basketball team was in Evelyn last Thursday night, and just some bad luck. They lost one of their first players off the bench due to a COVID tracing, lost her, and then they lost their big center, Olivia Thorstensen, to an ankle sprain in practice. And the girls hung in there valiantly, but they just couldn't hang in there any longer. Ended up losing 63-40. They ended the season 10-7.
They had a pretty good. They had a pretty successful team this year.
Very successful. They were, especially considering, I think, and I'm going to get this wrong, I think they were 1-4 early in the season.
I think they were too. Yeah.
1-4 or anyway.
Are they losing seniors?
They're losing some seniors. Anna Wendells, Chloe Sullivan. I think that's the two starters there. Oh, and Maddie Pierre is the other senior.
So I don't suppose you could fail them in math. They're pretty smart too.
I think that ain't gonna work.
Just an idea.
No, that won't work. Sorry. Okay. Girls hockey lost at Duluth Marshall last Tuesday in the opening round of the playoffs. But remember, the girls, of course, got that playoff or got the win right before the playoffs against Prairie Center. Pretty exciting there as they ended their 36-game winless streak.
Yes.
A couple years, a month and a few days there. So congratulations to the girls. As I've told everybody else, and I'll tell you people, I have to admit, I was on the radio and I got a little emotional. It was a big win. It was a needed win, and it was great for those girls. And they showed themselves fair enough down at Duluth Marshall. Duluth Marshall playing, I believe, for the section, or had a chance to play for the section championship. So no harm there.
We have quite a few girls coming back off this bunch, don't you?
Yeah, they're going to lose two. They're going to lose the goaltender and a defenseman, but otherwise everybody else is coming back.
Of course, she's one of the best goaltenders in the state.
Yeah, she had quite a few saves this year.
She had quite a few saves.
I think I did the numbers. I think for the season they only played 16 games, I think. And she came just short of having the most saves than ever in a season. Now, I think if they'd have played the
16 games.
Yeah, I think if they'd have played the 26 games that they normally do, she'd have blown that thing right out of the water. So, boys hockey, of course, a weird end of the season. They get seated in the playoffs in the morning. That afternoon, Ely says we can't play, so they forfeit. The Broncos win the 7-10 game. They're going to play number 2, Denfeld. And then all of a sudden the COVID cases started coming in for the boys hockey team. They end up having to forfeit. So the Broncos in the playoffs get a win by forfeit and a loss by forfeit. So they ended up 7-12-1 under Chad Baldwin in his first season. And that's that. And then the boys swimming and diving, what a season they had. Just Steve Joslin's doing a great job with the boys. They don't have a lot of kids, but the ones they got doing well. They had 2 individual swimmers going 3 individual events, and then they had a relay go. Will Serrano took 17th in the 100 backstroke, took 13th in the 200 IM. Jake Slatinsky, first top 10 finish for the Broncos since the mid-2000s at Status. He took 10th in the 500 free and the 400 free relay.
That is not easy to do.
That's not easy to do. Of Serrano, Slatinsky, those 2 guys swam again. And then Anthony Scholler and Gavin Wilson ended up taking 14th in the 400 free relays. So congratulations to you guys. Wow,
I know how hard they've worked. I know these kids, they have busted their butt in that pool.
Jake, for some reason, loved that 500 free. That's it's like running the 2 mile or something in track. And he hey, to say you were 10th best in the States.
Mom and Dad were proud of
not too shabby.
Yeah.
Spring sports, baseball got underway this week with a little throwing practice. And no hitting, just throwing. Get the old wings back into shape. Everything else starts next week. Golf, track and field, softball all gets started next week. And I was looking at the schedules. Softball and baseball have their first games on Tuesday, April 13th. So that's only 3 weeks from today
that the
games are to be scheduled. And if the weather continues the way that it's going, if we get a little rain to get the frost out, they might be able to play those home games that week.
Okay, you guys are going over like an hour.
We're not to an hour yet, Mary.
The producer's shutting us down.
Oh my gosh, we got to get it because, yeah. So, having said that, of course, section tournaments this week. Basketball and hockey going to get finished up. State girls hockey tournament starts this weekend. State hockey finishes up next weekend. It's a 8-day affair, so nothing wrong, or 8 and 9 days long, so nothing wrong with that. And of course, basketball splices in through there. And
well, as long as we're there, we're talking about high school wrestling. That starts this week. This is going to be at that St. Michael, Albertville. They have section 1A starting on Thursday. They'll do the team tournament during the day, and they'll wrestle the individuals at night. They'll do a 3 successive 1A, 2A, 3A, and they'll only be wrestling. Ordinarily, there's 32 kids in the brackets. They're running it down to 16, and
you have found a way to sneak into St. Michael, Albertville High School.
No, but I do know a guy that will probably be streaming the contest. Yeah. That's our friend Jerry Cleveland. Yeah, so I'll watch Cleveland.
I'm sure that it's on TV on prepspotlight.tv. Yeah. So,
but they were talking about this one big kid from Shakopee, and if you talk about Minnesota heavyweights, he is also 27-0, and he hasn't been beat since he was in, I don't know, 9th grade either. So you got some good kids out there. They got some.
It'll be interesting if you can find enough time in the day to have enough screens on to be able to watch all of it. I don't know if that's possible.
Thus the discussion with my wife.
And Eli, don't forget about Eli, because he wants to go for a bike ride during these times, and the weather's too nice to be in there watching TV, Dad. Come on. We got to talk about Elgin Baylor.
We have to talk about Elgin Baylor. You know, I remember when Elgin Baylor broke into the National Basketball Association. By that time, we were 10, 11 years old. Everybody played basketball. And here was Elgin Baylor. His rookie year, he scored 55 points. 55 big ones, and you think, nobody scored that many points in those days. And then you get a chance to see him play. You know, basketball was horizontal. He made it vertical. And he would pick up in the air, and I'm never sure how high he got. Not even sure I ever watched him stuff the basketball. He's only 6'5", but he would take off at the free throw line, and he would just kind of glide. Well, when everybody else was standing still, they were flat-footed. And
they were watching, George.
They were watching. That's exactly. That's what
I got to watch so I know how to do this up close.
That's what Wes would say. Watching him is just spectacular. And so it wasn't long before all of us down in the things were throwing up underneath. You know, I mean, I was probably 4th or 5th grade doing reverse layups because Elgin Baylor did reverse layups, and you just watch him. But he quickly became my favorite basketball player. And I got a chance to see him play twice, 1965 at the Minneapolis Auditorium, and when I was at UMD in '67, Milwaukee's team came in with Oscar Robinson, and they played the Lakers, and so there was Elgin Baylor and Oscar Robinson on the court at the same time.
Not too shabby.
I shivered. Yes. So here we have. You know, in 1958, he was just absolutely amazing. He couldn't get into college. So somebody said, well, you know, I think it was Idaho or something, and he went to college out there, and things didn't work out so good, so he quit. Somebody come up with a scholarship for him to go to the University of Seattle, and that's where he went to school. And he was drafted #1 by the Lakers, 1958, and you know, I mean, this is Bill Russell era and all the rest of these guys. This is, you know, in my mind, the beginning of the blue chip basketball players. And he became a superstar, and probably the first one. He was Michael Jordan before there was a Michael Jordan, and you know, and so it's like somebody said, and he went on for what? He worked for the NBA, one source or another, for over 50 years, and somebody just said, you know, he's a true shooter. He was a true shooter, a true gentleman, and like I say, I saw him play twice, and
That's pretty good words.
And I felt really good for that. Those are good words?
Hey, if somebody called you, if you were a basketball player, and said you were a good shooter and you were a good person,
you're a true gentleman.
A true gentleman? What more is there? That's everything right there.
Yeah. Elgin Baylor, he will be missed. He was 86 years old and died of natural causes with his family around him, and I guess that's all we can ever hope for.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anything else, George?
Listen, there's going to be great sports this week. Stay healthy, get your shots, and we will talk basketball next week somewhere.
Thanks everybody for watching.